On this episode of Know Your Body, we welcome Richard Jefferson, former NBA champion and Olympian. You might know him best from his 17-year career in the NBA or for his colorful game time commentating, but we know him best as a patient.
I'm always curious, when people are professional athletes, at what age did you know that you want to either play in the NBA or you knew you were going to get to the NBA?
I always joke. I knew I was going to get to the NBA the day I got drafted. I think times are different now. I got drafted when I was 21 and I was in college, and people don't understand, like, you could be on a team's board, like, hey, these are the top 50 players that could get drafted. Then you go into the NCAA tournament. If you play terrible, you might be 50th. If you play great, you might be 18th. You don't know. Yeah. So you go in there and try and push that out of your brain. So I'll never forget, after the Final Four, my coach was like, "You're definitely going to the league. You're leaving us, aren't you?" And I was like, I didn't even know that was an option. So at that point in time, I started to evaluate, but it wasn't like 6 months ago. Like, you're close, but the best way to do it is to focus in your present and then allow those things to happen. And if you're in your present, then you're not as much like, oh, I'm going to the NBA. I knew it when I was 12. No, you didn't. You wanted it when you were 12, and you did all the things. Right. But for me, I didn't fully like, oh, this is really happening until I was probably 18, 19, 20. Yeah.
How long did you want to go to the NBA? Was it since you were a kid?
Oh, no, that's a different question. Since I was born, right? I really, truly, no one else in my family played basketball. I'm the youngest of 3 boys. No one, my dad was a football fan. He was a boxing fan, Philly guy. Didn't really care about basketball. So I watched basketball by myself, go to the park by myself. That's all I ever wanted to do. And so probably 12, 13, 14, that's all I did. And then I got a little bit older, and then people started to see and understand what I was capable of, and then started to nurture it from that age.
So did your parents help you nurture the game?
Absolutely not. My parents did nothing to nurture the game of basketball. I'm not lying. I make fun of them to this day. I would ask for like a basketball hoop, and my parents were like, no, it's going to make too much noise. My parents weren't familiar with sports. My brothers didn't play sports, and I have a brother that's 5'9". And so all of a sudden I'm growing, and people are like coming up to my mom when I'm 16 at basketball games, like, hey, your son is like really good at basketball. And my mom's like, oh yeah, he's always just like, no, do you understand what your 15-year-old son can do? My mom was like, oh yeah, calm down. But that just wasn't them. My mom was an academic, like that wasn't their space. Yeah. So they just kind of let me free reign and be like, well, guess he's an All-American. This is cool. My parents had other than setting a good example for hard work, consistency, being a good person. Those are the things that my parents did that instilled in me that allowed me to be successful. But as far as nurturing the sport, oh yeah, mom, dad, 0. We laugh about it.
Yeah. So were your parents short as well? Or
no. I just have a brother that just got tough. Like, my dad's 6'2", my mom's 5'11".
Okay, so you
have a brother that's like 5'9", 5'10". I say he's 5'9". He's probably closer to 5'10". But still, so like, poor guy. He's not even taller than our mom.
Was it because you were stealing all the food from him?
No, he was older. He was 7 years older. He was taking all the food from me. I was like kind of the last one around. So they were just like, you can have whatever you want.
And so how did you get from that to Arizona? What made you choose Arizona?
Funny story. So my high school coach, once I got to about 15, 16, was like, hey, I know your parents don't have a clue, but I do. This is what you need to do. So my high school coach, John Bowie, he really kind of nurtured that. And then after, being in Arizona, and it's like, wait, University of Arizona has one of the top programs. Now, not a lot of kids get to go there because it's one of the top 10 in the country. So once I had progressed to that space, and then the idea of being a hometown kid, my roommate who I met on my visit, his name's Luke Walton. And we meet on our visit. We both play the same position, and we're meeting on the visit, and he's like, I'll come here. I'm like, I'm going to come here. So we both basically committed on our first visit. And that's not something you're supposed to do. But I'm like, you're my best friend. Let's hang out. And so from that standpoint, met good people. When I went to the school, I was excited. And then, that's just where it took me. I had visits to UCLA, to Arizona State. I had visits set up all around the country. But once you just kind of know.
You had a good feeling about it. Yeah, that's great. And you had a great career.
I was very, very blessed, very, very blessed to play with good people, and just the NBA, we talked about that. I'm part of my good mood is I can't believe the life I had. I couldn't believe the life I was having when I was in it. So I'm like, this is crazy. So I've always kept a joy and an appreciation and a love for my experiences where I've been, a humbleness for it. But yes, I've been very, very blessed.
Let's fast forward to draft day. That's when you said you knew you were going to get drafted. Were you excited about who you got drafted to, and what was the feeling? What were your emotions?
There's lots of emotions, right? I got drafted by Jersey. I'm from Arizona. I had never even been to Jersey. I don't know any of that stuff. So that type of stuff, but that's now when you're starting to get micro. Like, bro, you're here. You want to send me to Russia for X amount of dollars? I'm cool. Let's go. But no, my emotions on the draft day was more of just like a true blessing. Like, I couldn't believe it. Right. And again, you get so hyper competitive, but within that, there was a ton of anxiety. My parents wanted to throw a party, and I was like, I don't want to be around people. So like, I literally went to an event, I went to my agent's house and we sat there and watched the draft. And as soon as I got drafted, I went and met all my family and friends after that, because I just that's not my energy. I don't want a ton of people. So there was anxiety leading up to that moment, but you knew it was going to happen. You just didn't know where. And it's still one of the greatest moments and blessings, and I still can't believe it. Now you get to look back on it with kind of like, yeah, dude. But in that moment, even when you get drafted, you're still like, I have to make it. There's other guys that have been first round picks that don't have long careers. So if you think the job is done now that you got drafted or you were a lottery pick, that's just the beginning. That's just like, hey, here's your ticket in. Now, if you want to stay here, there's a lot of things that you have to do. So it was cool to get the ticket in, but I think I'm more proud of what I did to maintain.
You actually bring up a good point. Tell me about the difference between training and the day-to-day in college basketball versus in the NBA. I mean, it's a huge difference, but the audience would probably love to hear about that.
The difference in college, there's a regulation and there's a lack of resources and tool. Probably not as much, but again, I'm old, than 20 years ago. Yeah. It was your coaches can work out with you for a few hours. Was there enough auxiliary gyms? Did you have enough training? Did you have access, even on major college campuses? Now there's more gyms, there's more training staff, there's more opportunities. So the difference, college is getting closer to pros, but professional level, you have a gym that is yours. You want to be there at 6 a.m.? You want to be there at 2 a.m.? You want to be there. It is dedicated for your training and all of the things. And so when you look at it from that space, it's the access and time. If I want a coach to shoot with me for 5 hours every single day, I can in professional sports. You can't do that in college. And so that's where the difference is. It's more of the access to growth is exponential in professional sports. In college, it's limited.
How much is that self-driven where you said, if I want access to a coach for 5 hours, I can have it? How much is that self-driven versus expected?
It's a combination. The expectation is based off of improvement, right? And so when you have in college, their job is to help nurture and see what you're capable of. When you're in a professional space, it's like, how can you almost burn out? How do you maximize and bleed every bit of drop of talent? In college, you have a window, right? You have a window of time, X amount of time, X amount of hours. They can't bleed you dry of your talent and ability. In professionals, they can. When I say bleed you dry, it's not necessarily a negative sense, but it's like there's no more meat on that bone. You've trained for 2 hours. You are ready for this test. College, they try and prepare you for the test. NBA, you can be ready.
Again, for our audience that I think don't necessarily always appreciate how much work goes into it, what was your week like? Walk me through a regular week of an NBA player.
As an NBA player, well, I would say this. I moved to Hermosa Beach, and then for me, as I got older, I was more about maintaining my body. But typically, I would wake up, and I was a class whore. Am I allowed to say that? But I would go to like Soul Cycle, then I would do yoga, then I might do a Barry's boot camp. Now, this is all on the same day. Just this is my cardio. This is my lifting.
During the season?
No, this is off season.
Off season. Okay.
I'm giving my off season workout. That's where we were. So you do those things, go back, take a nap, and then you ultimately would wake up and do something. I found volleyball, so I started playing volleyball for hours after I'd done all my work, because volleyball's fun. Yeah. It's this, but you're also sand training and you're not even aware. So that's what I would do, and I would do that every single day, some sort of variation of 2 or 3 workouts, a nap, and then volleyball. During the season, it varies. Like we don't have Monday through Friday. During the season, you have game day, travel day, practice day, off day. That's our 4-day week. Now, where it happens, you might have 2 games in a row. You might have 4 games in 5 nights. You might have a travel day. You might have a rare off day. But that's our day of the week. And so on a game day, it's a typical game day. You have a shoot-around practice at 10 a.m. You're done at 11:15 or so. It's very short, just kind of like a walkthrough, get your body up, active movement. Then you go back, take a nap from 12 to 3. And somewhere in that window, you try and get 2 hours in. People don't understand the importance of a nap. It's like if your job is to be at your peak energy and focus between the hours of 7 and 10, you better figure out a way to get to that peak energy. And so that nap allows you, people are like, oh, if I take a nap, I can't go to sleep at night. Well, that's the purpose. I need to have so much stored energy. Right. And then from 7 to 10, you have this adrenaline spike, which again makes it very, very much more difficult to sleep at 10, 11. So after that, we typically will have a later practice the next day. So that's kind of our thing. And then game day, depending on where you are in your like season, it's very basic. Little practice in the morning, home, eat something for a few hours, come back to the arena. Game starts at 7:30. Probably leave your house at 4:45. Get there at 5:15. You have your shooting time. Guys lift now on game days. There's a lot of different variables that do happen, and so that's how your game day goes. And then everything else is kind of based off of that being the template.
You mentioned something interesting. So guys lift now during game day. What's the reason for that?
Just strength. It's not lifting heavy. Okay. Something big is just to get the blood flowing. It could be, some curls. It could be some light squats with 20-pound weights. Just getting your body. Again, I don't know the science behind it, but it's never heavy weights. It's more of like I don't want to say an active recovery. It's more of just to get the blood flow, the muscles firing without having to do explosive movements because we do so much. Right. But yeah, I've found that I enjoy it, right? Just having my body feel strong, but not, it's 10 minutes of weights and different exercises. Do this 10 times with 20-pound weights, and then your body, it's typically an hour or two before. So you get there, you might do some lifting, just get your body woken up, even push-ups, stuff like that. Then you go out on the court, you shoot, get your body flow, and then you go.
Post-game, what does that usually look like? Is there a team meeting and then they...
Post-game, it depends. It varies for everyone. It could be ice on the knees. It could be stretching. One of the things that as I got older, I realized stretching after games was actually probably more beneficial for me than it was even like before the game. It's yes, but the importance of stretching after the game actually limited a lot of my back tightness as I got older. So it's just stretching, ice, recovery, depending. You might have to get on a plane and fly across the country to play another game the next night. You never know. So you try and get your recovery where you can, when you can, but everybody has their system and their core for how they do it that helps them be at their peak.
And you had a phenomenal run with the Nets, and you guys had a great team. Walk me through that. What was that like? And you played with some, like Jason Kidd, one of the legendary point guards.
I was very, very blessed to play with such a talented group, especially to come into the league at 21 and be, we went to the finals my first and second year. So you show up and you're just like, oh, okay, this is everything it's about. I played against Shaq and Kobe in the finals, Tim Duncan and Dave. So for me, it was the blessing of like, this is your dream, and you didn't get stuck in some city that didn't go to the playoffs for 4 years, and you got baptized into the, hey, you wanted it, here it is. And so when you are 21 years old saying, I want to make it to the NBA, it's like, not only are you going to make it to the NBA, but you're going to be guarding Kobe Bryant in the finals in 6 months. That's a weird energy. Like, ooh, okay, Michael Jordan's back. Thank you. That's me, coach. That's who I'm guarding. Cool. This is fun. So I tell you, the whole thing was like an unbelievable out-of-body experience that I, even now, like looking back on it, it's like, what the hell?
What was that like? What was that like to guard Kobe?
It was fun, but Kobe was young. Michael Jordan was a little bit older, and then LeBron showed up 3 years later, and you're just like, the hell, man? Does it not stop? But it's fun. You enjoy competing against the best. I think the thing that people greatly underestimate is the amount of psychosis you need to be at that space. And like you learn early. Arizona, we just lost to Kansas last night. And I don't know what the max capacity is at Fieldhouse, at the Allen Fieldhouse in Kansas, but that place was rocking. It was going crazy. Arizona was number 1. They're undefeated. Kansas is top 10. It's going crazy. And I'm like, there's an 18-year-old kid on that team that he's playing basketball right now. He's walking out at 18 and being like, oh, all right, let's go play. Like, that's not a norm. Your brain gets conditioned in a way that most people would be like this. And there's people with the psychosis is like, this is nothing. Let's go. And I just think that great athletes have a level of focus and the ability to tune it out. Probably isn't the most healthiest in day-to-day life, but for your profession and what you need to do, it is an ultra skill.
Going back to guarding Kobe, this is interesting. So how do you, in the psychosis, how do you mentally prepare to guard somebody like that?
Well, you recognize, you prepare more from a skill work everybody's body is the same. You just prepare for a tendency. I think the greatest thing is to think that you're not going to stop any human being. You're not stopping LeBron. You're not stopping Kobe. You're not stopping guys that even aren't even on their level. That's part of it. But it's how can you mentally prepare to put your team in the best position. Kobe scores 28 and you lose the game, you're pissed. If he scores 40 points and you win the game, you're happy. It doesn't matter. So the psychosis is not me versus him. It's how do I put myself and my team in a position to come out with the win. If Kobe scored 50 points every single time he played us and we won the game, I could care less.
Right.
And so like that's where their greatness is like, I'm going to dominate and that's what's going to make us win. Kobe's like, I'm going to score 50 and we're going to win. And you're like, yeah, we didn't have much choice. So it's never a versus him. It's never a that. Basketball's a 5-on-5 game. So it's never like we're out there 1-on-1. So to marvel at a player like him is more to marvel at his ability to manipulate all 5 players on the court using his ability and his teammates' ability.
Who was the toughest person you found to guard?
There is different. It's hard to compare. Like LeBron physically, and his skill work and the way he played basketball, the misconception is that everyone thinks, oh, the Kobe Bryants or the guys that score crazy, those are the hardest. Yeah. There's a hard part in guarding Kevin Durant, but Kevin Durant's not also averaging 10 assists. Right. So Kevin Durant might score 31 points, great. LeBron scores 27 with 10 assists. Those are different. Like the weight on that is very different. So I'm not saying that Kevin Durant might be the greatest scoring weapon of all time, but LeBron in that 27 and that 10 assists means that he's manipulating the whole game. He's scoring. If you come here, he gets this. Certain guys are just lethal weapons. And I think that's Kobe, that's KD. There's certain guys like that. Then there's guys like Magic and Luka and Bron. James Harden, these guys that manipulate the entirety of the game for 48 minutes. That's far more annoying than an elite scorer that just dominates.
Interesting. And from the opposite perspective, who was the person that you found hardest to go against offensively?
Nobody really. And I don't say that from a dominance. It's that I was probably more conservative in what I played. So what I did. And it's like, I drive, I do this, and I have Jason Kidd, and he feeds me. And it's like, this is what I do. So I typically wouldn't go outside of my zone, and I typically was fairly level that I wouldn't go below my zone. Like, no one can stop you from running. Yeah. And that was my primary use of my athleticism. And no one can stop you from running every single time. So it's like, even on an off night, you might have 15, right? On a great night, you might have 25. But no one is be like, oh, every time I see him, I score 8 points. No, that part doesn't. So I would say it was more mental on both sides.
That's great. That's interesting.
So you played with some of the great icons of the game. You mentioned Jason Kidd and Tim Duncan and LeBron and also Vince Carter. What was your key to finding synergy with the different personalities and playing styles that allowed you to be successful in all those settings?
Well, I think it's understanding, it's a humility of understanding that we are one of 15, we're one of 12. Like once you understand that and you understand that, hey, you're the best player, my job is to make your job easier. And if I can do that, whether it's defensively, whether it's offensively, if it's Vince Carter and he's struggling on a night, then I can guard. I'm a better defender, so I will help him. If he's in foul trouble, if somebody needs to be picked up, if communication, and those are the things that allow you to have success with great players, is understanding what's unique about the NBA is that for most part, two teams, or every team has 2, maybe 3 players that can do anything they want. They can shoot all the shots. They can do this. After that, everybody else on the roster, their job is to make those two guys' job easy. Right? That our job is to make those two guys that can do anything they want. Now they have a responsibility and we have a responsibility. So once you understand that concept, then it makes it very team, and my success is based off of how well they do, and their success is based off of how well I do my job.
And is there a particular aspect of your playing days that you draw from now as a successful broadcaster that has allowed you to make that transition so well?
Understanding that the same psychosis applies, the same irrational confidence, the same like over preparation, the same eyesight, the same things that I was seeing as a player, having confidence to vocalize them in real time takes a level of confidence, but that confidence also comes from your preparation. So it's when preparation meets opportunity, that's when you feel most comfortable.
What does that preparation look like for broadcasting?
I watch so much basketball.
That's all it is, just watching so much.
So much basketball. I'm tired of it. I'm literally driving straight to Philly currently right now. I'm about to drive home, grab a bag, and fly out to Philly. And watching the games and watching the trends and understand that. Now, I love it,
Yeah.
but going up one more notch of constant basketball, yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Sorry to say.
What actually got you into broadcasting? What made your...
I had nothing else to do. I had nothing else to do. We had nothing else to do. I was like, all right, well, basketball's done. What else is there? It's like, you want to talk about basketball? I was like, all right. How'd that go? Oh, this is kind of fun. Okay, cool. So that's it. I just like to have fun. And I like to, everything that I say on television, I typically would just say with my teammates in the locker room. So I enjoy it.
Is it something you sought afterwards or something that sought you?
No, a little bit of both. Okay. Same thing. Like people were like, hey, I think you'd be good at it. And it's like, I'm interested in it. So it's kind of a meeting but even then it's how hard do you want to work?
Yeah.
And it's not.
I will tell you truly that I actually enjoy when you are talking about games because I know that you know the players and you're close to it. And so when you're saying something, I say, yeah, he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, and sometimes I know what I'm talking about. Sometimes I'm completely making it up. I was like, what play should we run after this, Rich? I don't know. We're going to find out together, Bob. I don't know. So it's one of those things. It's like, I know what I know. I know what I don't know. I can spot this, but I'm never running around. It's like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. It's like, no, I don't know sometimes because no one is clairvoyant. No one is psychic. I'm just kind of like, I don't know if you guys believe in psychics, but I'm just saying I don't know what people are doing often.
Yeah. But at least you have an inkling.
I have a feel.
Yeah.
I have a feel. I know more than most. Yes. I will say this. I don't know everything, but I know more than most. So whenever I say something on the court, it's based off of a knowledge and a preparation, right? But when people are like, oh, I was like, no. I don't know that someone's going to hit a half-court shot and that's going to go in. And I'm not going to, that was a great play, coach. It's like, we don't know. This is what I believe they should do based off of a history of watching these moments over many, many years.
Well, I don't have ESP. I have ESPN.
There we go. That's all you need. That's how I find out most of my information. So I had to know that. ESPN.
And you refereed at some point, right?
Yeah, it was more of a shtick. It was more of a shtick. I learned quite a bit, but I did like 3 or 4 days of like 2-hour lessons. Not even lessons, but just in their seminar. And then just picked it up just to do the summer league for a quarter.
Is something you just were interested in doing, or?
I zero. That's what get yelled at every day. I'm not. No, that's why I got divorced. You know what I'm saying? It's just like I'm good.
So you actually got pushed into doing the?
No, they asked me if I would be interested. They asked me if I would be interested in doing kind of like a research and then like going out there. And it's more. They used me as a guinea pig for like, here, go out there and tell people how hard it is. I was like, it's very hard, everyone.
Yeah, no, I can. I mean, you got to be focused on everything.
Yeah,
it's hard. Who was your favorite player to play with?
I would say Channing Frye, who was we grew up together, both went to Arizona at the same time, and they're just really good friends, and then ended up being on the same team together in Cleveland. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and actually, speaking of Cleveland, so you actually got to play with LeBron.
Yes, I did for 2 years, and we went to the finals twice.
Yep.
1 year won it, 1 year lost in the finals, and it was just, I've played with so many great players and he's amongst them. For me, it's just seeing and learning and people make it seem like great players can't learn from other people. He's one of those people that is a great player, and he's constantly learning from his teammates and other people. I think everyone's like, what's it like to play with Kobe or Bron or MJ? It's like, all of those players learn things from their teammates, and it wasn't like they were this deity. It's like, no, their elevation was how they evolved and consumed information from teammates, from coaches, from preparation. So a lot of times players don't necessarily look up to Marvel because they watch that player grow and learn and make mistakes and fall. Like, I've seen more than most. So what you see is this perfect deity in the sports space. I've seen the human side. So there's less of a like overwhelming energy from typically their peers.
You guys are in battle together and you're learning from each other.
Yeah.
And how was that experience with Tim Duncan? He was so fundamentally sound, but he was reserved.
He's very
as a
reserved.
reserve.
He
So
talk. What does
yeah.
I say? I sat next to him on a plane for 2 seasons, and if you talk to him about anything other than basketball, he's fine. You want to talk about movies, you want to talk about cars, you want to talk about comics, he'll talk all day. You want to be like, hey man, that play, he doesn't give a shit. Because that's his release. He's like, this is my job. I love. He's hyper competitive. This is my outlet for that. But everything else is more of just like, hey, my other interests are where my energy goes when that is put away.
Sure. We see he cut loose a little bit, a new hairstyle.
Oh, yeah, he's having a good time.
He's having some fun now.
Who do you keep the closest touch with?
None of them. I can't stand any of them. It's tough. We're all living different worlds. You have little text change. You have little things. But for the most part, like especially as you get older, it's just everyone
starts doing their own thing.
starts doing their own thing.
It's almost a little sad, you know. It's almost like a
It's
no.
well, you just want to say it's not sad. It's like my college teammates.
Yeah.
It's like eventually, 25 years later, it's like, oh, you guys still hang out? It's like, man, I haven't seen that dude in 10 years. I wonder what he's doing. It's very similar like that in the NBA.
I see. And so nobody that you still keep in close touch with?
No, not that I like. Yeah. No, I can't.
What about that you don't like? Do you keep in touch with people you don't like?
No, why would I keep in touch with people I don't like?
What would you do? Because you said that you not thinking.
I know, John. Yeah. John picked up.
Who was the most intense player that you played with?
Probably myself.
Yeah?
Yeah, because when you say it's a battle in your mind,
Yeah.
trust me, like the most intense competition you'll ever have is with yourself.
Wow.
Mentally, emotionally, and physically. So there is never, oh, we had battles. Yes, it's like every battle was won in your head in the gym well before you got onto that battle line.
You played in a couple different cities, especially towards the end of your career. Which city did you enjoy being in the most?
They all have positives and negatives. I like my first 6 years in Jersey, I lived in Manhattan. So like not just living in New York City, that's still my favorite city in the world. But I enjoyed Utah, I enjoyed Cleveland, I enjoyed San Antonio. They all had different things about them. So I try and speak positively on, not saying every place is great, but I'm saying my experience in those places was enjoyable. Best is probably New York.
And you're right. Every place does have its positives and negatives, so there's no perfect place. Southern California is very close to perfect, though.
It is perfect. not kind of. It's true. At least that's what the property taxes say.
They think it's perfect.
Yeah.
The property taxes here are less than Texas, you know.
Yeah, but they don't have state tax there. That's how
They'll get you somehow.
they're gonna get you.
They'll get you somehow. I want to go back to the finals where you guys were down 3-1 and came back and you won your first NBA championship.
Yeah.
Walk me through that. What was that like?
You know what it is? When we talk about the psychosis, I was saying needed to do professional sports. I think when you get enough of the same crazy people in a room, crazy things can happen. You have to have a level of belief. You go and look at, the Red Sox when they came back in 2004 versus the Yankees, and then you look at the bunch of characters that were in that locker room. You see similarities when certain teams or moments in time, there's a collective ragtag group. Doesn't mean there's not great players or Hall of Famers, but it's like, why was this group able to accomplish something different? And then you kind of start looking at the personalities within, and you're like, oh, like 9 times out of 10, this doesn't work. But that group right there, it makes sense. And a lot of it is in hindsight. For us in that coming back, it was unique. It was difficult. I think as the series went on, we got stronger and they got weaker. But a lot of that was because their path. They were down 3-1 in the series before. We were going through everyone. Yeah. So while they might have blitzkrieged us in the first 2 games, as our series went on, we got stronger because we were less fatigued. And I think that was a big factor in it. But I think for me personally, the most unique thing was that I had played on Golden State with Draymond, with Harrison, with Clay, with Steph. So my connection to the people we were playing against was a little bit more deeper. These were guys that I had a tremendous amount of respect for. So there wasn't the hatred that was Cleveland, that guys that had lost to him the year before. There wasn't the hatred. For me, it was trying to muster up the intensity to go against, which I would look at, I wouldn't say younger brothers, but younger players that I had a tremendous amount of respect for.
And that were your teammates.
Yeah, that were my teammates, but in those moments, not anymore. So do I have a problem with someone that I respect, like Steph or Clay, and fouling them so hard and having them hit the ground? Those are the things that come natural, but that was kind of, for me, that made a thing that made the series unique.
Did you guys think you had a chance?
Yeah, yes. But this is the thing. It's irrational confidence, because you don't go there if you don't.
You're not gonna say, right.
But that's what I'm saying. You're not able to do it. It's not like you're mid third quarter and you're like, you know what, guys, we should just keep playing hard. We might actually win this game. It's a psychosis that until there's no more breath in my body, and as long as there's an opportunity, like Michael Jordan said, I never lost a game. I just ran out of time. And so your idea is like, we still have time. We still have time. And if you keep that mindset, you could be down. We still have time. So that was really the group. And we were very, very blessed and fortunate.
Take me to game 7, and you realize you're going to be an NBA champion.
You don't until the game is over. Like, that's the thing. All of the Kyrie shot late, all that stuff is like, that was the first time
There's still time on the clock.
There's still time on the clock. And again, so the first time we ever led in the entire 7-game series is when the clock went off in game 7. We were down 0-2, we were down 2-1, we were down 3-1, we're down 3-2, we're tied 3-3, and then game 7, 4-3. So that was the first time that we were ever in control of the series, in that one moment when that buzzer went off. And that part is fairly unique.
What is that like?
It is, I had less hair and more grays. I've always been bald. That's how stressful it was. There's more PTSD from it, right? Like when we won, we had no idea. It was being in that moment was so unique.
Was it almost like a rush of just relief, or what's the first feeling?
Yeah. The first feeling is the vision of just of joy and relief. It was the last game of the season. There's no more. You won, and it's like you won a championship. But I promise you, I can't believe it was probably said throughout our locker room like 10,000 times. As the adrenaline spikes, as it comes down, and you're sitting there like, I can't believe that shit just happened. Holy hell. So there's just a lot of that energy. But it's tough because you're so focused on being present. And then when you are asked to step out, what was it like to be in that present moment? It's like, it's really hard to explain because you weren't aware of like, you know what, one day we're going to look back on this. It's like, yo, you just couldn't believe what was going on. And it wasn't, what I'm saying is like buzzer sounded, you start hugging, and then you're like, the hell? Right? It's like we did something that never been done in 70 plus years. Like, yeah, so it's not, there was never even a framework of like, hey, these guys did it, we can do it. It was more of like, we're gonna go try and do something no one's ever done. And then you look around at the band of idiots you have with you and you're like, this might just work. So that's kind of it.
When you talk about the kind of the culture of the organization and how that translates to the locker room and beyond, did you find one team that you were on where that experience was very nurturing for you?
I would say San Antonio. I learned a lot in San Antonio being with them and their very kind of rigid style, and Tim Duncan as a leader and as a humble leader who allows himself to be coached the hardest. That part for me as a human, as an understanding of just watching a leader and seeing, the dynamic and how they run. Pop was a military guy, and so to see how he runs the organization with love, but with strict, we would take our body fats every 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And if your body fat went up and if your weight went up, they would talk to you, right? Like this. So it's not like we would go on a 5-game road trip or eat burgers and steaks. You come back and instead of being 242, you're 247, and they check your body fat, and instead of being 8.7, you're 9.9. That's what they would do in San Antonio. And it wasn't from a shame. It wasn't from places like, we want you to be at peak. peak body.
At all
And
times.
these are the things. And if you aren't there, higher risk for injury, higher this. So if you're also now telling us that if you're constantly fluctuating, either you can't control it, you don't want to be at your peak, or you don't care. So when you see those things, you see their mindset, and it's not a negative one. And a lot of it is just more of, how do you want to proceed with your game, and what do you want to accomplish? How hard are you willing to work to be the best version of yourself?
Yeah. You brought up something really interesting, that some of that strict style actually prevents injuries.
It does. And again, it just benefited me as I took that the rest of my career.
And you had you were one of the best players, and you got to play on the Olympic team. What was that like?
The Olympics, before we won the championship, opening ceremony of the Olympics was the coolest thing I've ever done. Right? I was 24 years old, and I'm looking around. It's like, am I really in Greece right now? What the heck? Like, again, that's just my emotion, with a lot of things. But I love the Olympics. We had a very young team. We didn't perform great, but it was ultimately like, people have to understand that certain things they can't take away from you. What are the chances? I'm an Olympic athlete. I have an Olympic medal, right? I was in opening ceremonies. Like, these are things that we can, especially as athletes, and people say, oh, well, you only won the bronze. It's like, let me see your medal.
Yeah.
You got an Olympic medal? I got a couple of things back here if we want to start talking about things. So I joke about that, but it's like, yes, as a competitor, wish we performed. You understand the dynamics didn't allow you to do that. Golden State has to walk around with, they gave up a 3-1 lead, right? That carries you. Now, did they win 2 more championships afterwards, 3 more championships? Yeah, but they still carry that, and that probably led to further success. So for me, I look at the fact that I've been blessed to be in the Final Four, to play in the Olympics and win a medal, to play in 4 championships and win a championship, like calling NBA finals last year. So I look at it as like, I've been so blessed, and I'm just an idiot. Anybody that knows me, I'm an idiot. Right? She's laughing. I just have a good time, but I look at all of the things I've been very, very blessed to be a part of, and it's like, I'm just going to keep doubling down,
You mentioned dynamic. What was the dynamic that you think prevented you guys from winning?
No, we just had a very young team, and the U.S. did not do a very good job of developing their team. We had all the best players, but we just didn't have a team. And so if you don't spend summers, if you don't train together, if you just collect everybody 10 days before the Olympics and say, let's go win a gold medal against teams that have been training every single day for multiple summers, for multiple years, and then the U.S. decided to change that after ours, because they're like, oh, there's Giannis's in other countries. There's Jokic's in other countries. Like, yeah, bro, we've been trying to tell y'all. There's other great players out there. We lost in Argentina that had 5 different NBA players. So while they weren't talented, they were far more connected and understood, and far more cohesive.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
No.
And then you own a volleyball team.
I own a yoga studio, and we have a volleyball team that we run and sponsor. Yeah, come on camera. Come on. Yes. She is a 6-man champion right here. It's Team Soho Sixer. So thank you. Shout out. That one, the Soho team is one of my great prize. We opened up a yoga studio for health and wellness. I found yoga as I got older in basketball, and I found it. We're very blessed, and it was successful. And then within that, there's a community event called the Manhattan Beach 6-Man, where men and women, it's 6 people, 6 versus 6 on the sand. And after participating in as a player and messing around and then playing volleyball, I was convinced to sponsor a team. So our team, we started off with the women's team. They'd been to the finals 3 or 4 times. They'd won it. They're outstanding champion. She has her champion hat on it here. And then the men's team, we started that many years later. Been to a couple of finals. I think we got 3rd place last year. So it's like, it's feel very blessed that I have 20 women, 20 men, all converging out on the beach, wearing the yoga gear and supporting, and we own the whole tournament. Even if we don't win, we win. And like, we always win, right? We always win every single year. And so that's the fun thing, to have people that you get to know and support, and also we're giving back to the community. We are supporting the local volleyball community, which volleyball is actually I've learned so much, and it helped my body as I got older. So I'm so appreciative. I see the athletes are some of the best in the world, and truly probably don't get the recognition that they deserve. So for me to be able to give back to the community and support local athletes, and it's so much fun.
And you mentioned when we were talking that you have kids and they're interested in basketball, but you don't want to necessarily push them in that direction.
Yeah, I want them to be happy and content with whatever they choose. There's a natural amount of pressure. If they want it, I will just wait for them to tell me they want it. They like it, but there's a difference between wanting it and liking it. And I'm like, hey, I will show you the dark side of what it takes. And it's not always pretty. You're going to have nights by yourself. You're going to be in gyms by yourself. Your friends are going to be at parties on Friday nights. Your buddies are going to be taking a trip, and you're going to be in a gym. So if you want that, I can show you that world, but I'm also not going to push that world on you until you say that that is something that's important to you. So for me, I try and have my kids play all the sports. You want to play baseball? One of my kids did fencing.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
I don't know any fencers.
What do you do? Epee?
I don't know, but he won. And so he won it. And I'm just saying that I think it's beautiful. I didn't have those resources growing up, so to give your kids all of the experiences, that's all that matters to me. That's exciting. I'll go watch you. If you leave with a smile on your face, or if you leave sad because you didn't win, I'm just happy to be there as a dad.
That's great.
Yeah.
We talked about this before, and I'd love to bring it up again. We talked about there's a difference between wanting and needing.
Yeah.
And what drives them, we talked about how parents oftentimes that are successful athletes, their children don't ever reach that same level. There's occasions, Ken Griffey Jr., for example, but typically they don't. And walk me through why.
Well, I think there's a physical component to it. You have to have the same. A lot of times athletes and parents have a certain level of genetics.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between a kid that has, and again, a lot of athletes come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. So there's a difference between a kid that needs to make it and a kid that wants to make it. If I want to make it, my parents, if they've been successful, they've taken away a component of my drive. There's kids that, why are you out in the park all day? Because there's no food at home and we don't have cable TV and there's nothing else there. So this is where I want to be. Where kids that are parents have resources and you're going on trips and we're going to this and I want to be lazy today. The option there is very, very different. And so in order for certain kids to push past that, they're competing against kids that have nothing, that this is their only thing, this is their only drive. And so you have to overcome that. And that becomes a little bit more difficult in certain spaces, basketball being one of them. People look at Giannis's background, if you know anything about Giannis, like him and his brothers would share shoes because they didn't have shoes. So his brother would finish a game. Now that guy, someone told him that there's a pot at the end of this rainbow and you have to outwork him, the guy that's sharing shoes with his brother. And you don't want to practice an extra hour because it's hot out. You're never going to make it. And I know that, so why put that type of pressure on your children? Now, if your son or daughter is rabid and they're like, I don't care, I want to destroy, and you're like, okay, let's channel this energy into sports. So it's more of it. You need to evaluate your children and see how bad they want it, or else not only will they disappoint themselves, but you can cause a rift in your relationship because they were never conditioned to really do that. Yeah. You have to have a different psychosis to go down that path.
You take good care of your body. You open a yoga studio. Something that I really find remarkable about you and admire about you is that post-playing career, you've still taken great care of yourself. What brought you into CoreViva?
I have had so many friends as I've gotten older that have had scans and had things pop up. We talked about it a little, and the more that you can take care of your body, the more that you can prevent, things popping up. And I think the future of health and science really all combines here, where it's like you can get your entire body scanned. And, we looked at my brain and at my kidneys and at my knees and at my liver. And I think that to me is something that, I don't know, was this available 10, 15 years ago? Exactly. And so to sit there for an hour and have a comprehensive like report on what you can do. We were talking about different exercises that I can do that can help me as I get older. Athletes have always been about preventative. How do I train myself? And I think as you get older, people forget there's preventative inside your body,
Yes.
right? Your inflammation, what are you eating? What do you drink? All of these things. And so when I look at that and the opportunity to come here and work with you guys, like this is a dream come true. Because you get to do the whole thing. It's like, hey, go do this. And you even recommended other things like, hey, you're 45, there are certain things that you should go. And so just getting that information, I think is very, very important. And you guys have been amazing. This has been outstanding. And hopefully you guys will have me come back again.
Well, if you want to come back, you come back. What do you find most insightful about the scare and about the experience?
Honestly, the stress relief that you don't even know. You have a couple of friends that you said people are getting diagnosed with stuff in their late 30s and their early 40s. And so if you haven't had something along this lines, there is a small portion of like, I hope they don't find anything. That's not how, but it's just like, okay, I want to have this information. And so for me, that was the great part. It's like, hey, what I'm doing, maintain, right? What you're doing, maintain. And also that you're taking care of your body at a level that is good and healthy. So for me, that was the most exciting thing, is that you're not looking for answers to questions. You're looking to make sure there aren't questions. And that part for me was really enjoyable to come in here and get a healthy bill of report so far. For me, the hard thing is always understanding that everyone should try and be the best version of themselves. Right? If you compare up, if you compare down, if you compare left and right, I try and tell my kids, I try and tell everyone, if you want to be elite, what does that look like for you? Does that mean you have to change the amount of sleep? Does that mean you have to change what you're eating? Only you know. Like for myself, I could eat 10,000 calories and be fine because I was training. For other people, that might not be that. I could go on 6-8 hours of sleep because we were traveling. Some people need 10. If you need 10, get your 10. But that means you have to condition your life around that to be the best version of yourself. So I always say, if you want to be elite, it's not elite compared to others. It's elite because you are at your optimal, you are at your peak version of yourself, and only you know what that looked like. So I always tell people, are you the best version of yourself? Is this the best version? And so if that's the case, only you know what is needed. And I think getting information and working with people that allow you to find that version of yourself, that's what you should all never compare to anybody else. Ever. It's the worst thing you can do. Don't compare to anybody else. Oh, well, my friend was training for a month and they lost 10 pounds and I didn't. Why the hell are you comparing them to you? So be the best version of yourself. Don't compare. Only you know. And if you don't know, find out and work with people that can help you, show you what the best version of yourself is.
I agree, and I think that's why we say know your body. Not
God,
know,
look at that.
Not know their body.
Know your body.
Know your body.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for having me.